Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast, your highest source of sacred truths and universal wisdom. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Rachel Fiori, mystic, spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and founder of Masters of Self University. Join our journey of soul transformation as we deep dive into this latest episode.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Masters of Self University podcast. I'm your host, Ellie Lee.
And I'm your host, Morley.
And today we are joined by MSU Certified Mystical Life Coach, Atlas Zirconium. Give it up, everybody.
Hey, everyone.
How are you, Atlas?
I'm awesome. I'm really excited to chat with you guys today.
Yes, we are so excited to have you here. Before we start anything, you and I discussed, the three of us discussed about what you were going to talk about. And I thought it was a really, really interesting topic. So let's get right into it. How false sense of power leads us away from divinity. I think this can really, really, really benefit a lot of people at home. So we'd love to hear, why you chose this topic.
So just within the work at MSU, I have been going deeper and deeper in so many different programs that I like. Everything is surfacing constantly. And this is a new one for me. And I was doing some work around attention-seeking behaviors. And just really noticing that there's like a part of me that wants to be seen and doesn't want to be seen. And I was diving deeper into that. And I actually reached out to Rachel because I needed a little support. And she's fucking amazing. And she just like went right in there. And she said to me, she's like, well, what are you getting out of attention? Mm. And when I dropped into my heart, it just went right there. And I was just like, when I feel desired, mainly by men, and I'm not attainable, there's a sense of power in that.
Ooh.
And she was like, that's not fucking power. Like, that's not even remotely power. You're coming from weakness and fear. And that alone just really made me look more at how much that has run my life of, completely unconscious, but it's just such a big part of society too. And I realize that I've been contributing on the macro level, especially as a woman, I have a responsibility to show up within my divine feminine power, because that's actual power. And that was a couple weeks ago. And since then, I've just been really digging into it and thought it would be a great thing to share to the world and talk with you guys about.
I mean, incredibly powerful. I think so many of us can relate to that. I've definitely done that a lot in my life. And it's true. It's not power. It's complete weakness. It's complete save me, love me, make sure that I'm safe with you, instead of finding that within ourselves. And so it's a wild ride to even look at that and be aware of that. And so props to you for diving into that, because I'm sure that was your comfort zone for so long.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily even the save me. It was more I like doing some work. I've understood a little bit more where it actually comes from, but it was more if you want me and you can't have me, that makes me important.
Ooh.
Right? Especially because men are so important in our society.
Yes.
So it's this really, unconsciously shitty way to kind of up it a little bit, be maybe I'm a little bit more important than you. But yeah.
Would you like to share? You said you've done some work on where it came from. Would you? And you don't have to.
Yeah, no. Oh, I'm a open book. You guys know me.
So let's go in. Let's go into your process about you saw this behavior. And obviously, as a man, this is definitely something that I've seen other men do. I've definitely seen women do it. And from my perspective, when you feel it, you're like, oh, I can see what they're doing. And it's poor soul, because they're lost. They're looking for love way in the wrong place. And and that stems from pain.
And I don't necessarily even know, like, I feel like we can have a false sense of power. It's not necessarily just love too, though, you know, like, I mean, I'll go into my own story, but some of the, you know, like material possessions as a false sense of power, you know, dudes that, like, I mean, I live in a city, so there's like the guys, South Philly, there's a lot of Italians, not trying to be stereotypical, but there's like just the dudes that are driving around in the Mustangs or the, you know, and there's just like, there's a sense of power when they're just like driving this vehicle or the motorcycle between the legs. And it's not, so I feel like it shows up in a lot of different ways, not just like, not to get too focused on the love, because I feel like we could really go so many avenues with this topic that a lot of people could relate to, that isn't just necessarily like, you know, a female kind of like wanting attention and looking for love and getting saved in that kind of way.
Right. Well, what I mean by that is all those examples in my perspective are people looking for love, because they're looking for things to bring them joy and to bring them into this power. They're looking for love, but they're looking in the wrong place. So they're getting the wrong thing, and they're seeking this deep down. What they're seeking is probably love and power,
self-love.
But what they're seeking is, you know, a big bike, which makes them feel powerful. So why are they in that place? Using the example they use, like, why are they looking for that in the first place? What part of them then needs love in order for them to feel powerful? So as you said, you can go down many avenues. But
no, I hear you. And I mean, I guess that's really, I mean, that's all we all want is just love.
And to be happy. And we get lost thinking that this external thing is going to give us happiness because we might have received pleasure for a short moment, and then we get stuck chasing that loop. But it's only when we do what you're doing, which is recognizing your behavior, stopping, and then what am I really looking for? So let's go in now. What were you really looking for?
What am I really looking for?
Oh, well, when you were doing these behaviors, you said, you know, this false sense of power.
The attention. Okay, so I'll just start from the beginning, because I think it'll be a little bit more clear. But you know, society, especially as a woman, society kind of instills certain things, though not especially as a woman. I mean, it just, as a woman, there's a lot of domination programs. There's a lot of objectification, I guess, is basically what I'm talking about. And I was actually working with another amazing mystical life coach from MSU, and we were doing some healing work together. And it was about the attention seeking, and I went to a moment where I was about 6 or 7 months old, and I was crying, and my mother was going to come, you know, pick me up and give me some love. And my father said to her, let her cry that out. She needs to figure that shit out for herself. And my mother then listened to him. And since then, my mother, she's an amazing woman, kicked ass at being a single mom of 3, but she always went to the male, just resorted to their opinion, their perspectives, over me and over my siblings, but just from my own experience, over me. So, and that still happens today. And so like, I think it really started then. And it's like, okay, if men are more important than me, then that means that if I can be important to them and then they can't have it, then that makes me more important. Totally makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
when
mean,
you look through a kid's eyes, yeah, it makes
sure.
total sense.
Totally. Yeah.
Because that's what that's what we're dealing with, and that's what we do here at MSU. We're not looking at things. We're not looking at these wounds through an adult lens. We're going back to the time, this moment that
Yeah.
this energy got created, and we have to look through the lens of the pain. And the lens of the pain might have only had a consciousness, if you said like 6 months old, or 3 years old, or 6 years old. And the 6-year-old doesn't understand the world the way that we do, and so we interpret things totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you go into a little bit of the examples of how you showed up in relationships with men, having this wound and carrying it with you?
So, I'm actually, a lot of it's really coming up for me now because I'm in the first relationship I've ever been in where like some of these wounds just just a lot of my programs just completely disappeared. Not even because I actively attempted to, but just because the consciousness level of the relationship itself just like didn't even allow for any of that shit.
Mm.
Wow.
So, so some of the behavior is like previously, and what I've noticed a shift in is like a checklist. You know, like, are they going to provide that? Are they good at this? Can they do this? So like that kind of, I mean, and that's like in a way like putting me in a sense of power because I'm like making those kind of decisions for myself and my well-being, but it's not actually, it's just fear, total fear. So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it honestly is just really energy. It's so energetic, and it's just like withholding love too could also be something that I've definitely done before. Yeah, just kind of like shut down when they're needing something, like specifically in a relationship, like a romantic relationship. Like if they're needing anything from me, I get to just like shut down and kind of just be that like powerful force of choosing when I get to
give them love.
Yeah,
Interesting.
exactly.
Interesting. And so that did, obviously it's a false sense of power, but withholding that love, like when they needed you and you being like, no, and like kind of disconnecting from them gave you this sense of like, oh, look at me, like I'm so powerful. But in reality, I'm sure it was hurting you so much and hurting them and affecting the relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's sometimes like where there's like neediness or codependency, like it's actually good to kind of just like have a really clear boundary and be like, you go figure that shit out for yourself. But yeah, I mean, but then it's like, where is that? Yeah, just really needing to constantly look at yourself and your behaviors and your feelings and the mental shit that's coming up for you and being like, is this loving, or am I running a program that is actually hurting the two of us and just continuously wounding humanity?
Right. Because, you know, when you talk about a boundary, right? Like an actual healthy boundary is saying, I love myself and I love you, but I'm creating this boundary for me to protect me. But when you're doing a boundary, we get it mixed up with like the disconnection, which in reality is not really love.
No,
and so,
it's fear.
Right. So it's fear. So talk about the fear a little bit. What was the fear behind that?
Oh, I mean, a lot of it was vulnerability, fear of being vulnerable, fear of being hurt, fear of being taken advantage of. Yeah, I grew up I started being objectified and taken advantage of at a very young age. So that's been like a program that I've been working on for a really long time. And so there's always like a little, I've done so much healing, but there's like still nuggets in there that just pop up sometimes. But yeah, I mean, being taken advantage of is huge for me.
Wow. And how do you navigate this new conscious relationship that you're in? I mean, you said a lot of the programs disappear, but I'm sure you still get triggered by a lot of things. But how do you feel like you show up in this relationship compared to other relationships?
it's not even, I don't even know if it's like how I show up. It's just it's a completely different sensation. There's no, like, it's just a team. Like, it's just like it's like, it just feels like a team. So it's like, there's no, I need to be right to be able to like make this happen for me. It's like, okay, how can we, if you're not happy, you know, that's not necessarily my responsibility whatsoever, but what can I do? How can I show up to just offer more space for you? And I did not used to do that at all. Like, anytime there was like a need, I was just like, dude, you're too old for that shit. You need to go grow up. But yeah, I mean, just being more, you know, aware of what's running. And I mean, like, just, yeah, doing this work for the last 7-8 months and being able to piece it all apart and navigate my heart more makes such a difference. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you and Danny were in class together, and you guys are, you know, certified.
We
and
still are.
Yeah, you guys still are in class together.
Yeah.
What's been the journey like for you?
I have, I've done a lot of work on myself over the last 20 so years, really, ever since I have 2 daughters, and when I had my first daughter when I was 21, I was just like, oh shit, like, I need to step up the game of, you know, like, of life and like be a representation of something that I really want to be for this girl. And then less than 2 years later, I had another girl. So I was just like, oh damn. Game on. So I've like really, and you know, knowing of my childhood sexual abuse and just my family and everything, like, I was really dedicated to working through this so that I did not like shed unnecessary shit onto them. And I just have done some different things. I mean, you know, started with like nutrition, then kind of like eased my way into yoga and jogging and meditation and breath work, and then really did some like deep dives with like vision quests and energy, like different energy work. I'm also an energy practitioner, and I've been doing that for a long time. But like, finding this work has, like, it's like when Rachel says it's the deepest level of healing you could possibly get, like, it's not a fucking joke. And so yeah, like, it's just been in layers, and the more and more I heal, either just with myself or, you know, with the community at MSU, it just, more stuff gets healed, more stuff comes up, more stuff gets healed, more stuff comes up, and it's just like, I don't know, it's been incredible. And I am so thankful that I found it.
I'd love to take a flashback or a rewind back to the beginning of the program, because I remember you asking a lot of questions about subtle energies and energies. And Rachel's answer was always, you're learning subtle energies and you'll get there. Like, we'll get there, don't worry, and you'll see it. And I didn't get what she meant until I'd pretty much finished the course. And once I finished the course, I looked back and I fully understood exactly what she meant about the subtle energies and how we were learning it, but unknowing, we didn't know we were learning it. And so because you had a lot of questions about that and you have a background in energy work, I would love to hear your experience and your evolution with energy work, subtle energies, and all things related.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm a very highly sensitive person. I have been ever since I don't know,
come out of the womb,
multiple incarnations. But for me, like, and you know, just going with the beginning of the class, Danny, I was asking these questions a little bit more out of ego, to be honest. Because I had studied with someone for a couple of years, and there was very specific ideas of what, especially like the chakra system and kind of like the percentages that they should be open for certain, you know, and And she also, my previous mentor, who's amazing, but like she also was just like, don't mix modalities, don't mix an understanding of the system and the 7 layers of the aura and da 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 da. And so I was kind of like, is this gonna like completely backtrack my understanding of like what I just like really kind of started to sense and feel? So that was a little bit of why I was asking all of those questions. But
so let's just pause there for a second. Before you started the course, what exactly were you sensing and feeling? And then let's compare it to like now.
Well, it's interesting because I've done some different work with it, and actually I don't there's a methodology called biogeometry, and it really has to do with sensing, being able to actually measure energies and frequencies. And when I took that course, so many things clicked for me because it wasn't really something I could talk about, but there's just like different places in the room or different positioning, different directions, different colors, different shapes, different sounds that I just like would just make my body just chaotic or bring me to peace. And I just kind of went with that. So I was just, I would almost like go in somewhere, and if it was uncomfortable, I'd be like, I cannot be here. I don't know why. I need to fucking leave now. And now I just understand so much more, how to be responsible for myself in that situation, and also why that's happening. And like be able to adjust the frequency and the energy. But I mean, yeah, when I was I just reading someone's energy, I could just immediately tell if they were genuine or disingenuine, or just came with a sense of love, or you know what I mean? Yeah. So
very tapped into your intuition, you would say.
I mean, I don't, it wasn't really a choice for me. It wasn't easy. So, but I didn't know what that intuition was telling me. And I will say, like, like when I was, I don't know, 12 or 13, I started really getting into like telekinesis and like telepathy, and like really started like practicing with it. And I, did some weird things and ended up in a psych hospital for a while. And that experience in itself, like for a long time, and that experience like made me be nervous to like tap back into my skill sets. And I'm just now really understanding that I don't have an option. And if I chose to continue to stay small, I would just be a disservice to the world and to everyone that knows me. So I'm done with that
shit. I can't imagine like how much like internal fear that must have created for you going into that experience and then coming out of it, and just how like it must have just shook everything up and like ripped the rug out. And coming back from that's huge. So props to you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Talking about sorry, go ahead.
No, I don't recommend the psych industry at all.
Yeah. I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
What was the energy that you had, and what was it about Rachel that really drew you in? This is something that me and Danny ask a lot of the coaches that are in this program, because I think we were just completely something about my soul went ding, 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 ding. And I was like, okay, let's go, let's jump. And so that's the reason why. And then speaking to her and feeling into her energy and being like, wow, this is a powerful, powerful leader here. And I want to learn everything. I want to learn it all. So what was it about her and when you heard her that really drew you in?
I mean, you basically just said it, just the power. And I mean, it's funny because when I had, when I applied for the coaching course and had my free interview with her, and the first thing she said to me, she's like, "Where in Philly are you?" Because she, and I was just like, "Oh, because she's from Philly." And, so there was like some similarities there for sure. And just, the no nonsense. But there's also like, you can tell that it's not a mask.
Right.
Like, like sometimes I feel like I have a little bit of that, like tough edge kind of thing, but a lot of times it's just a mask, like protecting myself. Like she doesn't need any of that shit. She's just full power and knows exactly what to share, and also just has so much presence and space for people also. And it's such an amazing, it's just so inspiring. And like having that balance is it's definitely something that I aspire to harness more in my life. Yeah,
for sure. And that brings me back to like, you know, the topic at hand of this false sense of power, because I feel like for me, I mean, shout out to all the women in my life. I love them so dearly, but I have never grown up with an example of what a powerful woman is or looks like or feels like at all. So
me
of course,
neither.
when I don't have an example of that, I'm just like running around in circles, like trying to like be powerful and be something that I have no idea what it is. And I think when I stumbled upon Rachel and being in her presence or speaking with her, I was like, I have never felt this kind of energy from a woman before. Just this very beautiful balance of the divine masculine, divine feminine, but also knowing that she's unfuckable with in so many ways. And so for me, that was really inspiring, because I realized she's just a reflection of me, and she's reflecting back to me who I really am. And I think the more I step into my power, the more I feel this fire erupting within me. And I literally walk around different. Like last night, I went through a healing coach session with one of our amazing coaches. And I went on the night walk with my dog, and I was just like, oh, my back is straighter. Like my head is more up. And I'm like, this is what it means to really tap into this power within us. And so I really relate to you. And I think anyone who's been around Rachel can really say like, oh, that's the example of a powerful woman that's really in her shit, you know, like really standing in that grace and that the wisdom and the knowledge and everything. And so it's beautiful to see that we can, that there's huge potential for all of us. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. And I mean, it's also amazing. I mean, even just going through the course, seeing like where we all started and where we are now. And like, she's literally just mirroring back to us what we're capable of, and just like our own innate divinity. And it just has 100% trust and faith in all of us. And it, you know, I mean, it's definitely like, we are so trusting of her and she is so trusting of us. And that sense of oneness just from the start, I mean, just really allows everyone to thrive.
Ellie, you just mentioned something there about going through a healing and receiving like a physical adjustment. And this is something that I felt a lot in my journey. So the more that I heal emotionally and mentally and spiritually, the more that my physical body is starting to change. Is there any moments through this last 8 months that you've been working with Masters of Self where something like this has happened to you, Atlas?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think it's actually, I like when I just started talking to you guys a little bit ago, like I've been a little bit sick over the last week, and I don't ever get sick. And I had a moment with my partner where there was so much emotion expressed and just like let out on his end. And it was the first time in my entire life, other than with my children, that I just was able to unconditionally hold space for that. And I feel like there's been like things shifting over the last week. And yeah, I mean, in the beginning of the course, there was a lot of just crying that happened even when I was happy. Like, just like here, like anytime I would drop into my heart, I just was just crying of sadness. And it was just like my body was just like opening up more space for other things to come in.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Really beautiful.
How about, this is a question we normally get down, like you've already been through the false power wound, that you're kind of, this is more of a new thing that you're digging into. Are there any other really big wounds or really big transformational healing moments that you would like to highlight and tell the audience about?
there's been some big recognitions. One is doubting myself as a parent.
Ooh.
Really kind of and my kids are both out of the house now, so I think there's also like time for me to reflect more. But just getting some validation of like, oh, I'm not necessarily as rigid as everyone always believed that I am. I just am really integrous with boundaries and, I don't know, tough love. But one of the things that just a sense of control, I think, is the biggest one that I've been really working on. And I have so many opinions. And I think my opinions are super amazing sometimes. But I don't fucking need to share them, because who is that for? You know, unless I'm being asked for support in something. So that's been huge. And I kind of always understood it, but I didn't really realize how to transmute it and how to love it and how to show up differently.
That's something that I'm currently working on really hard. Is I'm catching myself sharing when the space isn't sharing, or catching myself going into the coach mode when the space isn't time for the coach and it's not what's needed or wanted right then. So it's hard, because sometimes it can come from some kind of good intention, or at least our mind will convince us that it's coming from a good intention. But it's normally obviously coming out of the ego.
Well, it's hard too, especially when you're getting that feedback from other people, like, oh, fuck, I didn't think about that. Or like, you are, you know, like, you're so supportive and you're so smart and like solution oriented, and, you know, and it's like, so you're getting that validation and that feedback. But then when you really kind of look at it, it's like, I didn't necessarily let them. Giving the opinion when not asked is actually taking away an opportunity for someone else to figure that shit out for themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah. I like to call it the savior complex of like, we're always trying to save other people, when it's like, are you saving yourself? Because you really minding everyone else's business, but what about you? You know? And so, but what I've noticed throughout this whole episode is just your awareness, Atlas. Like, you know, for what we learn is awareness is key. It's number one, right? Without awareness, you ain't got nothing. You don't know what's left or right or up or down. And your awareness has been really beautiful throughout this process. And my question to you now is, what does now that you're tapping into your power, what does it feel like?
Sometimes, honestly, it feels fucking terrifying. Because with that comes like, it's cute because I'm like, oh, that's so sweet, Ellie, awareness. But what the hell? Like, that's nothing unless you're going to actually, you know, take responsibility for it. And I will say that that is an area where I am still digging deep to find those wounds that sometimes create a behavior of lack of responsibility for the awareness. So I don't know. I just got totally distracted from what you asked.
No, I was asking about, you know, tapping into your power, because I know that you're stepping into it. And what does it feel like? Because for me, as I'm stepping into it, I'm like, wow, this is just the beginning of that.
It is the beginning. And I know, and I like, yeah. So what I said is it's terrifying at times, and I'm loving the fear, because I know under that, once that's loved, it's going to completely transmute to courage. And like, yeah, I mean, I'm going into this head in. I have a client, my first client on Saturday, which I'm super excited about.
Wow.
And it was actually a client that I was working with doing energy work, and some stuff was coming up with her. And I was just like, as much as this is amazing, I really believe that you are ready and maybe really interested in going a bit deeper. Wow. And presented this information to her, and she's just like, I'm in. Yeah. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. But yeah, just, I mean, it is the most exciting avenue in the world. I mean, like, what else do you want to do with your life if you're not going to be constantly like growing your power and fucking healing? Like, what else is there really to do?
Right.
So as hard as it is at times and as scary as it is, like, there's no other option in my mind.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm just plowing through and I'm listening to my voices. I have a lot of different other things in my life that I'm navigating, and different careers and being a parent and a grandparent and all this stuff. And just like, really, it's all about how you show up in every moment of every day that is this work. It's not just like, what are you doing? So just like tapping into all of the different areas of my life with just showing up, being responsible, taking divine responsibility for myself and my actions and my programs and my heart, and trying to just step into contributing what I can while I'm here.
I think you've touched on something really important there for anyone listening, because us three are obviously, we're dedicating our lives to this to help others. We're becoming the coach because we want to help other people heal. But that doesn't mean if you go through this program that is what you need to do. It's just that
definitely not.
then you can bring a more healed whole version of yourself into whatever it is that we're doing. We all have this commonality of like this MSU work, but we also all have our own interests and hobbies and other things that we're also doing. And this work is completely fundamental. It affects us at the deepest level, which allows for us to get more deeply in touch with our heart, more deeply in touch with our soul, and therefore opens the doors for spirit to flow through. And when that happens, that is where the magic happens. So it doesn't matter if you're a tennis player or if you love books and you're into reading, and whatever your career is, doing this work in unison with it will completely transform your life, because you're tapping into the energy of oneness, and that is abundance. And so whatever it is that you're really interested in, once you've done this work, you're going to excel in it massively.
Yes. And I think that we're all examples of that, because Rachel always says it takes willingness and devotion. This work isn't just, okay, I listened to it and then da-di-da-di-da. It's really how far are you willing to go? How deep are you willing to feel the pain? And how much do you want to alchemize this into power, the power that is you? And I think that everyone who shows up so beautifully and divinely, I tip my hat, so much like respect and honor, because this is not easy. What we're doing is not easy. And yet here we are.
Yeah. I'm glad that you clarified that, Danny. And it just as an example of that, and stepping into my power, like one of the side jobs that I do that I've been doing for 6 years is crafting jewelry. And I used to design and make jewelry for like Anthropology and other big places. And now I'm just kind of like working with small wholesale companies. But I've been working with this woman for 4.5 years, and it just wasn't working out for me. My prices, I was like, I gotta up my rates. And as soon as I did that, I was tired into this other woman that is a much better situation for me. And she's totally accepts my rates now. And I'm so when you have the strength to just be like, this is what I fucking deserve. And this is what I'm going to claim. And actually just it exudes you, and the universe will just provide.
Yes.
And that strength you speak of, part of it is, the power that we grow as we do this work more and more, the strength that we get from going into our pain and being able to come out with love. And it's built over time. It's not something we have, right here, right now. It's a process to learn how to tap into that strength and that power. And then, beautiful. Now you're able to do that.
It's
all expansion. The abundance comes.
Atlas, for anybody at home who's listening and who really wants to step into their power because they can really relate to your story, what would you say to them?
I think that a lot of times my experience is people generally don't step in their power because they're afraid of how someone else is going to respond to it. And my advice would be, don't give a shit what other people think.
Yes.
Woo!
Yes. Yes.
I needed to hear that today, because
Yep.
I'm the last couple of weeks I've spent a lot of time with family, and there's
Mhm.
nothing like a mirror like your family, and
Yeah.
you can see that, and you know, I'm on this very different path to where I was a few years ago, and I needed to hear that message, so thank you.
Yeah.
I think we all do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The power
Yeah, I
of
mean,
not giving a shit.
people are coming from wherever they're coming from, and you are not responsible for their reactions, their feelings, their own fucking programs. Just authentically be you.
Yeah. And
The more you step into that, the more that you understand what that actually is.
Yes. Yes. My favorite law of the universal ways of oneness is I am the way of responsibility.
Mhm.
And truly that is taking divine responsibility for yourself. And that is radical self-love. And
Yes.
so Atlas, I've watched you evolve. I'm sure Danny has had a closer look into your evolution, but this is just the beginning. And I'm rooting for you all the way, girl.
We look forward to having you on again.
Yes, yes.
It was super fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. And to everybody at home, subscribe, share the episode, leave a comment, rating, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.